WYNN Resorts, ticker WYNN. So I'll be pulling up the weekly chart because we're looking at an intermediate time frame outlook here. And we're going to step through the askSlim methodology so we can answer our core trade planning questions. First one we just did, which is our outlook period. So we're focused on an intermediate time frame. Next, and most importantly, is what's my directional bias? So we're going to look at why I have a long side directional bias at this time. So WYNN actually started this new cycle with a negative cycle structure and translation. However, the magnitude of the rising phase that occurred was such that it repaired that negative technical damage. As you can see here, it actually closed above the intermediate 78.6. So it repaired that negative technical damage, and then also by closing and pushing through that 78.6, it is warning now of a positive cycle structure. So that's very important. Also strengthening the case for the bullish intermediate bias is that the weekly reversal scout is firmly positive at this time. So now let's move over to the daily chart and gauge the short-term technical evidence on the daily chart. As I switch gears here to the daily chart. And what's most notable about the daily chart is that this advance that WYNN has had was so powerful that it actually broke out above multiple daily cycle peaks. So we had one cycle peak here. So this one here was very choppy, very flat, like a basing cycle. And then it took off. So there was some interesting warnings here that started to develop. You could even see the reversal scout starting to give you some earlier warnings about mid-cycle of some potential changes. We didn't see a lower low. So that low had held, and then all of a sudden the slim ribbon reversal scout turned positive, giving you further warnings of something changing. And then we got that breakout above this first cycle. We got another breakout above the second cycle here, and then we have broken out above this third. So very powerful advance. Also, what's interesting is there's some valuable momentum insights coming off of the daily chart. Our slim ribbon here, made up of the 3 exponential moving averages, are still in alignment, so that's still showing positive. However, and there's some continuation signals, momentum continuation signals, positive ones happening. You can see this here in our slim ribbon PO indicator that we have. However, the reversal scout, which is more sensitive to changes in price action, is currently negative. So when you combine that with the indicated cycle low timing window that WYNN just entered into today, this suggests to me some patience in terms of the long side entry, or at a minimum, you want to consider a smaller position sizing until we can see that additional positive price action indicating a likely bottom has formed and the new rising phase is underway. So what we would want to be looking for that would be, I'm going to bring over our handy tool here. We call this our multiple time frame trade swing trading short-term swing trading setup grid here. We have weekly, daily, 2-hour, and then also a 15-minute here on the grid. And what I would be looking for is in this 2-hour time frame for the reversal scout to turn back positive, which you can see right now is negative, and then the slim ribbon to at least neutralize. That would start to give me some confidence that we have a bottom pending situation in place. And then ultimately, if that reversal scout, once that turns back positive, that would suggest that that new rising phase is already underway. So we use the shorter duration time frames to assist with those insights into the changes, and then a little bit longer duration time frames to then support that, and then obviously the weekly time frame to drive that directional bias decision making. On the MCI, also in terms of complementary bias indicators right now, you can see that we're at 58, which is still positive, with, showing that little pullback that's taking place. The option bias indicator has gone neutral, again suggesting some patience as WYNN likely finishes this daily cycle low right now in a bottoming process. There's also overlaid on here is LVS, and you can see that has a little bit longer to go. So it could get choppy in here. and then we should see this turn around. And if I go back to our combined weekly daily chart here, I'm going to zoom in and we'll talk about where the key levels are. So I'm looking at two projections. One projection would be a retest of the prior cycle peak. So that's around 110 or so. Right now we're trading around 100. And then the secondary projection is up here around 117, which would bring it to a test of the major weekly resistance area, which it had set here back in around April of 2023. So that's important levels to look at on the upside in terms of projections. And then the reevaluation levels. So I look at two different sets of reevaluation levels. The first is a reevaluation of the projections. So if we were to violate 89.50, I would have to reevaluate these projection levels. If we have a weekly close below 85.50, then I would have to reevaluate the overall directional bias. So I'm looking at two different sets of levels there to help me with my trade planning. And then furthermore, I want to note that the upside projections that I have, they're a function of the positive cycle structures and the current positive weekly momentum. However, I consider them to be inactive at this time. And until the shorter duration timeframes, as I discussed earlier, shift back positive, we have some further evidence in the bottoming process is complete, I will consider them inactive until that point. So that's a way to look at those projections. You want to have projections. Cycle analysis helps with that process, but then you have to use the other tools to let you know when those really activate. And that's how I'm looking at those right now.